Cuban people have done. So my question is, at this time, what are the most important things that Irish people can do to help Cuba?
Thank you.
Well, of course, for us, the priority is the struggle against the blockade. And anything that could be done, it's of the utmost importance for us. I don't want to be the one coming here telling you what to do. I mean, I don't live in this country, and what I can say is that during the struggle to free the Cuban Five, people all over the world participated in the campaign were very ingenious, very creative. There were things done that were really smart in order to advance the cause of the Cuban Five. And I think most of the initiatives that were worked on and applied during that struggle are very well useful in the struggle to raise awareness about the blockade. I would say that there are people from political parties here. Some of them are in parliament, some of them are not, but all of them can contribute to make it an issue taken into parliamentarian forums, or even city councils throughout the country, passing resolutions supporting the lifting of the blockade. Anything that could be done so that the US government understands that that is the world's desire and the world's demand. Of course, there is the vote at the United Nations General Assembly every year. The United States government is well aware, of course, that it's the resolution that Cuba has presented 26 times already has the overwhelming support of every government of the world. But it's important also that they are aware that it's the will of the people, and it's the world demanding from them the lifting of the blockade. That's what I could say. I could say something else. There is something that is important, and is that the unity of all groups, political parties behind that issue, in my opinion, behind any other issue of importance. But during the struggle to free the Five, we witnessed, and it was something that was commended to us by activists from all over the world, the capacity of different groups to join together and cooperate and coordinate to advance the cause of the Cuban Five. And I think that is something that is important, that we are able to be united behind the purpose. And in my opinion, it goes beyond the issue of the blockade, but that's the issue that I'm talking about here.
Thank you. There was a hand up at the back first.
My name is David Hickey, and I can't speak very well. But firstly, I'd like to say welcome to Fernando. I think he's a super human being. And I have to say, the performance and the dignity of himself and his four colleagues during their savagely unjust incarceration was an inspiration to the world. And I think it did more for Cuban solidarity and reputation. There was never a vehement, there was never a bitter, there was never a nasty argument. It was always at a higher level, and for that I think deserves great, great credit. As a question, Fernando, I'd like to ask you, what has happened in Latin America? 10 years we had this rising tide of justice, and now we see in Argentina, in Brazil, in Colombia, in Nicaragua, Ecuador, it's being rolled back. What is happening? And this is by a great social achievement under the previous government. What is happening now? I mean, I believe the IMF and World Bank are now back in Latin America. They were down to something like 5% of the loans 5 years ago, and they're back full time now. I'm sure it's a big question, but I'd like to know what is happening.
Well, first, I want to thank you for being here. And I want to thank you for the many years that you have worked tirelessly in solidarity with Cuba and the role that you have played in the solidarity groups and support that you have given to Cuba all these years. So thank you so much.
Here, here.
I mean, it is hard for me to. I'm not a political analyst, but of course I have opinions, and it is hard because I think that regardless of opinions as to what has been or what have been the causes that have allowed the right to come back in Latin America, for me, the focus now is to support the progressives and the socialists and to support the left, regardless of what we might think that they did that was not totally conducive to being able to maintain what they had. And when we were arrested in September 14, 1998. And if we look back to that date, or those days, neoliberalism was rampant in Latin America. And we were in the hole, we were in solitary confinement, we had no communications, we didn't read newspapers, we didn't even know what was going on beyond the door of the cell. And one day, there is an officer from the Federal Detention Center in Miami, and he's walking through the hallways. It was a Sunday night. And I listened, and it says he was walking around one of those hallways that you could hear a pin drop and the keys that they have hanging on their belt. And he was saying something like, well, this guy Chavez in Venezuela won the election. And that was something for us. I mean, that was, he probably, I'm sure he didn't know what it meant for us. He was just making that comment to somebody else. But for us, it was important, even though back then in 1998, we couldn't have an idea how far and how important Hugo Chavez would be. I mean, none of us was Fidel, who had that vision back in '94 when he received Chavez in Havana, and he could foresee what that personality would be able to achieve. But that's Fidel, I mean, a genius. But we instinctively realized that something good had happened. And as we say always, it was like a light at the end of a very dark days, in very dark days. And after Chavez, then came Correa, and then came Evo, and then came Daniel, and then came others. Well, Zelaya in Honduras, Lugo in Paraguay. So there was a whole tide of leftist, socialist, progressive governments in the area. And no doubt about it, it had a role also in the decision that the US government had to make in 2014 of changing the way it related to Cuba. Because the whole continent was demanding of the United States a change in policy towards Cuba in order to be able to have better relations with Latin America. But ever since Chavez won that election in '98, there was a reaction by the imperialist powers trying to revert that process. And we had a couple of years later the infamous coup d'etat in Venezuela. And happily, the people of Venezuela brought back Chavez a couple of days later, but they got rid of Zelaya in Honduras, they got rid of Lugo in Paraguay, they won the elections in Argentina a few years later, they got rid of Dilma Rousseff a couple of years ago. So always, the ruling class and the imperial powers, they're not sitting there letting the peoples take the benefits of from them. They're always going to fight back, and that's what they have done. I think, in my opinion, in some places, things were done in a way in which, they were not able to defend what they have in their hands. Mistakes were made, in my opinion, my modest opinion. I'm not a political analyst. I'm not anybody. I'm not a person involved in leading a political party. It's just an observation, but for me now, that's not the most. That's something that they need to think about. The important thing now for me is to support the struggle that they represent, regardless of what we think about that. It doesn't matter whether they did it this way or they did it the other way, and they allowed this to happen. It's not, in my opinion, the point now. The point is that there is a tide to the right, and it's part of an offensive led by the United States and other centers of powers in the world. There is always sectors of the oligarchy in the countries, domestic oligarchy, that for selfish reasons allied with those centers of powers and with the United States, and help the United States advance its policies. So when those countries and the left, the progressives in those countries are under fire, in my modest opinion, what they need is support. It's not a time for me to even give an opinion as to what went wrong or what they could have done. It's just a matter of supporting them and being alongside them and denouncing what's going on against them. So I hope you understand that I don't want to even give an opinion of somebody who is not a political analyst or a political party operative, but I think it would be right. I don't feel comfortable. I think what they need is support, regardless of anything.
And I'm sure,
You have a sec. I'm sure we all remember a famous day in Croke Park, David, when your simple gesture did more to raise the issue of Cuba than so many other actions, perhaps. Question, yes.